of so many things, including Casanova, sex criminals, and Hawkeye. Please welcome Matt Fraction! So Matt,
thanks for having me.
You are, you were very cool, and you do a lot of cool stuff. This is Casanova, which is one of your books right now. This is Sex Criminals, which got me.
First printing. Ooh.
Yeah, this got me a lot of looks when I was asking for it at Powell's. And then also Hawkeye, of course. Let's talk about some of your stuff.
Sure.
You had been kind of an online snarker of comic books before you were a writer of comic books?
Like, back in the day, not everybody, the internet sort of social media hadn't quite become what it is.
Right.
But it was kind of coming out of the swamp.
So wait, so you were mean to comic books on the internet when there were only like 30 people on the internet?
Yeah. But the other 29 people all worked in comics.
So do you work with people that you wrote about?
Yeah, I spent the first half of my career having to apologize for the last half of a couple other people's careers. Yeah.
I think that's. I would love to say.
I also never said anything I wouldn't say to somebody's face.
Right.
So that was like my one sort of rule was like if it isn't something I wouldn't say to somebody with the expectation of them being punched, but like I would say, I could, I came from art school, so I sort of learned to speak critique at a young age.
Right.
And like just kind of the culture that I came from and had, now when I think about it, I'm not embarrassed by like the snarky stuff because I think it's actually funny when it works, but just by that sort of brazen, I'm just going to assume you're a peer of mine because I too make things. Mm-hmm. So let's speak as equals, professional, and I'm, that's the thing that I'm embarrassed by now is that I had no problem coming up to adults who were making a living and just being like, well, here, look, I made this thing, now let us talk because we're alike.
Pre-peers, though. You actually did become their peers.
Yes.
Which does not happen for most commenters.
Yeah, that's the weird part.
Or Brock is really who it is, but he's all the commenters. But so actually what's interesting, one of the things I noticed, especially in Casanova, is you're very aware of comic books, and you, like, especially in Casanova, you'll comment on the genre from inside. So like you still have that eye where you're still interested in talking about how you can push this forward.
Yeah, I think about the stuff all the time.
Well, you do it for what would come up. Yeah.
But Casanova was the first time I had a chance to write a comic book with staples in it, and I was convinced nobody would ever offer me the chance again. So I put everything I possibly could into making a comic that I wanted to read instead of like, here's the world 9,000th, shitty Batman ripoff or whatever. I'm going to make this thing that doesn't exist. I'm going to make this thing that I've always wished existed. And eventually you kind of run, you're like, what am I thinking about? What am I talking about? I'm thinking about comics a lot. So why not have a character just address camera? Why not have God come in and narrate and,
So do you think because you were a fan of it, that gave you that opportunity to have, like you spent a lot of time thinking about them when not from the inside, so you maybe thought of ways you could expand it?
And just
things that weren't done?
It's a very stale medium for a medium so young, because it's kind of, look, when you can spend $6,000 to put a comic out in the world and get a return on investment upwards of $1 billion, you actually can't beat that. Like that cannot be beat. You can't, Walking Dead, for example, my buddies make Walking Dead, right? Yeah. The money those guys spent to put those first issues of Walking Dead out, we could, all of us right now with the money in our pockets, put it in a pile in the middle of this room. Like it does not cost a lot of money to publish a black and white comic book.
Right.
And it is now the cornerstone of a empire. Anywho, when it's not going away, and so I just part of it's being bored and like being like a film nerd and kind of wanting to do something different and something new, and because there's so much of the same thing, people trying to chase after that success, right? Like Batman made $1 billion, we have to make Batman or whatever, Wolverine.
We're literally let's just make Batman again. Every 6 years.
We've got to reboot the reboot. So
yeah, that's an interesting thing. Like if Pixar was like, we're just going to redo Toy Story again with different characters.
No, the same characters.
That. Yeah,
it's the same characters, just a little different.
Right. This time they're taller.
Well, the Spider-Man thing. I got to go see that at what's it called? The movie theater in New York, Ziegfeld, the old movie. There was like the premiere, and it was a whole thing, and like, there's this bit in the movie where it's like, the one thing that's always haunted me is who my parents are. I'm like, that's not what haunts Spider-Man. In fact, anyone who has spent any time with the first Spider-Man story, 9 pages long, it's all there. Why hasn't there been a good Spider-Man movie? Because someone thinks we can do better than these 9 pages. You actually can't.
Well, that's a totally interesting point, except that you have done something with Hawkeye that no one has done with Hawkeye before.
Right, just rip off the Rockford Files.
No one had thought of that before.
No, crazy like a fox.
Have you guys read Hawkeye? Have you guys read his Hawkeye? Yeah.
Wow, that's f***ing liars.
Oh,
They look.
I thought you meant the MASH character. Yeah, I read him.
There's a whole conversation. Somebody in the that's a.
I mean, even if you're just ripping off the Rockford Files, like there's number 11 is entirely from the point of view of his dog.
Right.
And the pizza dog, and that is
who solves a crime?
He solves crime.
The dog solves a crime.
And if you haven't seen it, it's like when he hears talking, there's just squiggles, except when there's a word he knows, like pizza or his name, and then those are words and everything, and then he solves a crime, and that's
and then like 3 issues later, you get that whole conversation from a human POV.
Yeah,
because
So you're actually, the same thing that's a problem with people, the way people are doing Spider-Man, you're not doing that. You're doing something completely different with Hawkeye than people have done it. That's really impressive.
Well, thank you.
How does that, is it because you were thinking about it before? Is it because you just don't take authority that seriously?
Oppositional defiance disorder will get you through life. Flying colors. No, I wanted to write the book I wanted to read. Yeah. And I like him as a character. Like he's the regular guy on the Avengers. He was Jeremy Renner in the movie. So he's the guy who wait, why do you get to be in this movie? Why are you here?
So tell me then, what are you doing? What was your tell us about sex criminals?
Sure, sex criminals, the good ones.
So they're people who have sex and commit crime. They're not
correct.
Yes, okay. Right.
It's not, finally a comic book for the rest of us. There's actually a photo cover with me and the artist on it, because it has been a ridiculous. This and Hawkeye have been the 2 biggest successes of my career to date. Neither one of them you'd have bet on if you saw the odds. And we have now gone to what is all in the 9th printing of the first issue of Sex Criminals. So we just put us on the cover, and he's holding the first issue in his lap. He's holding that in his lap, and I have my hands on his shoulder. And my uncle saw the cover, and his comment was, "I would have thought twice before putting my photograph next to a thing that says Sex Criminals."
Yeah, that's brave.
But I was just coasting on victory fumes, I guess. So I want to do a sex comedy because I love, as a genre, I love sex. I love Billy Wilder movies and the sort of post-Apatow kind of school of that stuff now. I love that genre, and there's never really been one the way I saw it in comics. There's been things sort of similar, but not like this. So it's a comedy. It's a sex comedy about a girl who, when she has an orgasm, time freezes, and this makes the act of sex kind of isolating and depressing, as you may imagine. And then got us sold.
That's exactly what it feels like.
Right.
Perhaps it's a metaphor.
Yeah, right. Well, so one day she goes to a party and hooks up with a guy with a lot of change in his pocket, and but they
match for action.
Hang on a second, Matt. I'll call you back.
Nice. That was a good catch. That'll catch in a minute. She has sex with a guy at a party, and as she pretends to enter her kind of 15-20 minutes of lonely quiet time, she discovers he is there with her, and he has the same gift. And the 2 of them...
That's so beautiful. I'm totally your audience.
No, but she's a librarian, and the bank is foreclosing on this library she works at, and they decide that they're going to start to kind of like the Jason Statham movie Crank. They decide they're going to have sex, freeze time, and rob banks. Basically, they rob the bank to give the money back to the bank to keep the library open. So they're sex-having criminals.
And they get to get laid before it. That's a really good night.
How do you come up with these characters? A sexy librarian?
That's the thing. No, a sex-having librarian.
A sex-having librarian?
And that is different.
Yeah, that is different. I hope she takes her hair down and shakes it.
All this and more.
Yeah, and that's just one issue.
Yeah, it's just one.
Yeah.
So would you say this is the thing to get right now?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And you can be timely. Angoulême in France is this little town that the last week of January, for 10 days, gives itself over to comics, like an international comics festival, and Hawkeye is well represented there and is up for an award. It's not going to win, but this morning I woke up and people in France were sending me pictures of giant Hawkeye advertisements in French. So check out Hawkeye and Sex Criminals.
If you haven't, the issue 11, you got to get some backstory, you got to read around it, but the dog issue is really one of the most delightful things that I've ever experienced. You really should get that as well.
And now we're about to do one that's all in sign language. Right? It's a visual language.
Yeah,
right? Comics are a visual language, so it's going to be all in sign language. 2 of the characters will be speaking sign language and no other sounds in the book.
So you've obviously got tenure at Marvel now, right? You can just say, like, I'm going to do whatever, and then they don't question you. You can
No. I just lost a big gig. Yeah.
Oh.
So, and it's cool. It's fine. It's good. But it remains very much an editorial-driven business. No one expected this to last more than 6 issues. They just wanted, hey, he's in the movie. Maybe people want to read it. So that it has become this monster thing is as confusing to them as it is to me.
Oh, and what's your Excalibur Comics said to say hi? It's on Twitter that they've missed you.
Sex Criminals would not exist without them.
Oh.
I was kind of protesting the idea, and it's not a easy sale. Mm-hmm. And Excalibur is a pretty solid mainstream shop. Like they do a lot of Hawkeye business. They do a lot of superhero stuff. And I was like, hey, how would you feel about it? And they were super into it, super supportive. So go buy Sex Criminals at Excalibur. It's spiritual homeland.
And if you go there, they will not look at you weird. Whereas if you go to Powell's and you start with, I would like to buy Sex Criminals. Right? At least warm them up first. That's my advice.
I was trying to convince Chip that we should call the collection Prince Albert in a Can.
That would be fun. Pick them up.
It might be called Teen Sex USA.
They're in finer comic book shortstops all around the city. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Fraction, everybody. Matt Fraction back again.